Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by a man who always has perfect internet. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing good. Not always perfect internet. We had some tough moments there through our podcast lore, but internet's rolling good. Hopefully tonight, so we're gonna have a good show.
Yeah, better than you haven't had a fiasco like I had last show, Kyle. So you're ahead of me right now.
I remember one of our very first shows. We didn't even do it live, but my internet was so bad that not even the live show, and I was so pixelated, and you could barely hear me. And we've been doing this for a few years, and there's been some speed bumps along the way. That's for sure. We figured this out a little bit better.
Yeah, remember when we used to do it pre-recorded, and I would have to every episode edit out a certain part where we just get to a point where we'd say we didn't know what to say, and we'd have to just have a moment of blank, no one's saying anything. I had to edit it out after the show.
Yeah, we had a few shows like that where we were just it definitely takes some seasoning. This isn't, people think this is just people just bullshitting around. Like doing this is actually not the easiest thing. In doing it well, and I don't even think we do it that well. But
yeah, we're okay. We're the Desmond Ritter of podcasting. We're just getting by.
We our highs are really high, our lows are really low. Desmond Ritter in a nutshell. But we're not talking a lot about Desmond Ritter today. We are talking about the playoff teams because we got playoff football matchups now. This is exciting, good time of the year, and your team is celebrating division championship.
Yes, my team is in. Joe with a super chat starting off the show. Congrats on the Bucs, bro. The Eagles defense is bad, and the Giants played a good game. I think both things are true in this one. Also, are people getting mad about the Giants honoring Sterling Shepard? I honestly didn't even hear about that. So to be honest, I think like most people, midway through the second quarter, I tuned out of the Giants-Eagles game, but we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit. There are some issues there.
And Kyle, I have breaking news.
Yeah, what is it?
Right as this show, as people put it in the chat already, Arthur Smith has been fired.
Didn't even get to
Monday.
To Black Monday. Unbelievable.
No. Does this count this counts as an in-season firing then, right? If you don't get to Monday.
I guess so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess technically the last game did end. I don't know how you declare that. That is an interesting one. I don't know if I've seen that before. But imagine your last day as a head coach is Jameis Winston punking you on the last play.
Incredible. Why not just wait till Monday? What do you have? Why fire him now?
Getting a head start on things. They're already burning the midnight oil on that coach shirt.
Oh, they're 1 day ahead of all the other teams. So much to get into. As always, we start off with the Sunday night game, which was a fun game. Although, again, would have been, I think, more exciting had the Jaguars won. Could have had a little bit more drama here, but still, a lot to play for here in this one for the division. Bills are the 2 seed. Kyle, are the Bills the biggest threat to Baltimore to win this, to get to the Super Bowl out of the AFC?
Yes, and I think a lot of it has to do with number 17 on their team. So I think he has been playing as one of the best quarterbacks this year. I had these guys 1-2 on my MVP ballot. We're going to do all of our awards at the end of the show.
Oh yeah, forgot to bring that up. Yeah, we're going to do our all pros list and also all the awards at the end of the show. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, go ahead.
You can see which one I had number 1 at the end of the show. But Josh Allen was terrific in this game. He, there was some stumbles there, but obviously he came up with the big throws, big plays in that one, except for that goofy 4th and 1 play, which why are you jumping on the push play?
I don't know. What is that?
Jumping defeats the whole purpose of the push play. But anyway, so they did what they had to do. He was really good in this game. The Bills defense showed up in this game. I think they shut out Miami in the second half, right? And
yeah,
I don't know, the Bills played well enough to win. I give them that. But this feels like a major letdown moment for the Dolphins, too. And I don't know if I want to lead with that, but I feel like we should. Because this team had the 2 seed basically all but locked up. There was a chance they could get the 1 seed. And not only would the 2 seed or 1 seed be important, but they would have been home for at least 2 playoff games. Going into the final weeks of the season, this team was 7-0 at home. They lost that dumb Titans game, and they lost this game at home, where they had multiple chances to put the game away in the first half, where they, had a lead. And I don't know. That feels like a major moment for this team because this team is significantly better at home than it is on the road, and now they travel to Arrowhead, basically round one of the playoffs, instead of hosting a home playoff game after this game.
I will give my thoughts on that, but first, a word from our sponsor, Overlap 618 in the chat, the official sponsor of the On the Sideline podcast. Bigger news than Arthur Smith firing is I lost all my money betting on the Dolphins. When will this stream report real news? This is Overlap, and I need the dial-in number. At some point, we'll do that Overlap. At some point, we will have a dial-in number. I probably won't use a number. I probably have to put a different way to do it.
Yeah, I don't know how exactly we do that for Overlap. We did pick the Bills on this show. We both did. So
yeah,
maybe you should watch the show more, Overlap. I don't know.
No, Overlap. You're doing whatever you're doing. Keep doing it. We're big fans of Overlap here.
Yeah, we are fans of Overlap. You just went against our picks and look what happened. Sorry to say it, man.
Yes. And responding to you in the chat, was there a debate I wasn't alive? Yes. So when I did my Off the Sideline podcast episode, there was a lot of rumors that you were actually dead. And I responded that way by just making a parody of our own show and doing it that way.
Didn't die. I did drink a lot Saturday and Sunday.
Good.
There may have been some Zins involved at the golf course Saturday too. So it was a tough weekend for me. I don't think that would not have been an A+ show for me, that podcast Sunday night on New Year's Eve.
Are you a big Zin guy?
No, I'm not, and that's why it was, surprising. So, yeah, I put 3 balls in the I put 3 balls in the water on 18. So that was an adventure.
I got addicted to chewing tobacco at one point. I was doing like a 10 a day. I had to quit.
I never got into that stuff. I never did. I mean, I have like the occasional cigar, but I mean, you're a big Coke guy too, so I guess
right. Cocaine. I mean, that's cocaine. I'll do, but chewing tobacco can't. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah. I'm 29 as of today, so maybe I need to cool down.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well,
anyway, we need to talk about this.
We got way off as we do here sometimes. Bill, I agree with you. What you said about, I'll throw it out there. Like, are we sure Tua is good? Right? Like,
no.
This was a bad day by Tua, and I feel like every 3 weeks we're saying like, well, this wasn't Tua's best day. Like, at what point is this just part of who Tua is? Is when he plays good defenses, he turns the ball over.
Yeah, and I mean that last throw, that was the interception, was just an inexplicably bad throw in double coverage. The safety's over the top of the play. That throw shouldn't have happened. And then even the play before that, it was a bad throw to Tyreek Hill that, got Tyreek rocked, that he had to come out of the game because he was hurt, and also could have been intercepted off the tip too. So I don't know, man. Like, so this becomes the interesting conversation. And I mean, we're going to continue this in a second here with Jacksonville, but Tua is due for a big payday this offseason. And the Miami fans have tried to tell us that this guy is, him. And, I've even conceded some facts that this guy is all right. I think he the quick release thing, I think, is real. The deep ball accuracy, I think, is real. But it just seems to be like, how much can we buy into a guy where everything needs to seem to go right for him to be as successful as he is? Like, everything needs to work out for him. He can't succeed if there's the slightest bit of adversity, it seems like, as a quarterback. So I just don't know what to do with that. And, if that guy, like, Tua is fine in this role where they can build this awesome offense and everyone's highly paid and all that kind of stuff, what is he going to be when he's, a $40 million quarterback?
I mean, it's the age-old question, right? What do you do when you have a quarterback who is really good but not the elite guy?
Yeah. And Miami's going to have to answer that this offseason. And, if this all turns into them where, they started this season unbelievable. This offense looked unbeatable the first half of the year. And if this results in them losing the first round in Arrowhead, there's going to be a lot of questions about that. And I think they're going to be rightfully asked because, there are very few quarterbacks who have had this amount of talent around them this season to succeed, right? He's been given everything to be successful, from head coach hiring. The head coach hiring was all about Tua. Building the roster was all about Tua. And this is now all about Tua to try and move this team to the next level. And so far, these last 2 years, they haven't gotten to the next level because Tua hasn't been ready to. He was hurt to the playoffs last season, but this season it's looking like it's going to flame out again.
Yeah, and I would say, part of that is, offensive line hasn't been ideal, but you're right. He's had a lot, you can't complain about that when Tyreek Hill's open in a second anyway. I do want to whatever your Josh Allen take is, it was answered, you can point to this game to prove it right? I mean, he had, quite frankly, a disastrous first half, but then he was just incredible. And that fourth quarter, he was just fantastic. I mean, this is who Josh Allen is. I thought this was maybe Josh Allen's second worst game of the season. The worst obviously being the Jets meltdown. But at the same time, I mean, again, we'll get the MVP stuff at the end of the show. But he made some incredible plays in this one, and credit to McDermott for going for it on fourth down. There was a moment when the broadcast said, "If I know Sean McDermott, what he's saying in the locker room," and I'm like, watch out.
Oh man, what is he saying in the locker room, Mike Tirico? Just look up all the natural disasters, I mean, I still think he's really good, and when he's on, he's still unbeatable. So, this was a huge turnaround for the Bills. I mean, remember when we were saying a few weeks ago that the Bills basically had no margin for error? And they had to be almost perfect down the stretch of the year. And I don't even think they played perfect these last 3 weeks of the season, but they got the wins. And all of a sudden, what looked like a disaster season, what looked like a disaster scenario. I mean, we were saying that Sean McDermott might get fired if they didn't make the playoffs. And that was a realistic scenario. They didn't make the playoffs. And then now they're the 2 seed in the AFC playoff picture. Crazy. So, I mean, it's a crazy turnaround. The way this team rallied behind all this. Maybe it was the 9/11 speech. I have no idea. But I mean, it's incredible what they were able to do this season down the stretch. And, big win for the Bills and, big win for their division. And, they're going to have a shot to win the Super Bowl again this year. They're going to be in the conversation as long as they have Josh Allen.
Yeah. And for the Dolphins, now you have to go to Kansas City, get a victory there. I mean, their pathway might be go to Kansas City, then go to Baltimore, then go to Buffalo if they're going to try to get to the Super Bowl. So huge loss for them. Let's move on, though, because we have a lot to get to. Let's just talk about it. When one of our teams has a game like this, you got to bring it up. Kyle, Jets Patriots. I mean, what a great. This is clearly starting to show material, right? I mean, what a disaster by the Patriots.
I didn't even think we were talking about this game. I thought we were just doing the important games.
What do you mean? This is clearly the most important game. The Jets beat the Patriots.
Trevor Siemian threw for 3.5 yards per attempt and had more yards per attempt than Bailey Zappi. This was not a fun game.
Bailey Zappi, 88 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on 30 attempts. Yeah.
That obviously the weather played a factor, but it was also 2 really bad quarterbacks and 2 good defenses. So, the Patriots, the most important, this was finally the game where I was like, you know what, I'm cool with the Patriots losing. And it worked out in my favor.
The last week, that tends to be the case.
And you know what? I love beating the Jets more than anything. And if this is actually Belichick's last game, I would have loved to see that send off. But at the same time, the Patriots getting the 3rd pick, I think, is really important. I don't think we're going to do are we doing all the games today, or are we just doing are you just making fun of me?
I'm just being, we'll probably do a lightning round at the end, but I just couldn't help myself.
Yeah. So, I mean, the important thing though about this game, so in the scenario that Chicago wants to go with Justin Fields next year, I mean, there's going to be the conversation about it all off season. So we'll see what happens with that. But in this scenario, Chicago wants to keep Justin Fields and ride with Justin Fields next season. Patriots are actually in a really good leverage spot, which sounds ridiculous to say because they have to trade up to 1. But if Chicago wants Marvin Harrison Jr., which would make the most sense to build around Justin Fields, they have to stay in front of Arizona, who's at pick 4. So it makes a lot more sense to trade with New England, who's at pick 3, to trade up and get Caleb Williams. So maybe there's an opportunity for that. I still think if I'm Chicago, I'm taking Caleb Williams, but we'll see. That's a conversation for
we'll have
a future
that
podcast episode. But, that draft positioning is going to be interesting. there are a couple good dynamite players that could be available at that spot, or if they have the opportunity to move up. But there is a good chance that the Patriots, despite this ugly, ugly performance, are going to be better after today.
Okay, well, let's move on. I couldn't help myself. Let's go to the Buccaneers. Why don't we? Again, people are sometimes here to not just for what we have to say about other teams, but what we have to say about our own teams. And, not going to sit here and say this is a dominant offensive performance. Baker Mayfield's he's injured. I mean, this is Cleveland in his last season. Baker Mayfield, he's not healthy. That being said, hey, I don't care if it's Bryce Young. Defense pitching a shutout is pitching a shutout. We're in the playoffs. I'm happy about that. That being said, I mean, this game completely showed why the Panthers are the worst team in football. I mean, they had DJ Chark, just a bad decision to hold the ball out, trying to get the touchdown. Like Antoine Winfield able to knock it out. Antoine Winfield, definitely Pro Bowl caliber player, some might say, able to make that happen. But, still a blunder there by the Panthers. Also, touchdown gets called back due to illegal formation. Also missed field goal in this game. The Panthers had their opportunities to win this game. But, hey, Baker made a couple plays while playing injured. They were able to do enough to get the victory. This is, they're certainly limping into the playoffs, literally. But you hope that if they can get healthy, they have a chance against Philadelphia.
And they might have a chance against Philadelphia, as we're going to talk about them. That hasn't been that pleasing either. But yeah, I mean, the defense, I do think, has played really well the last few weeks. The offense has been struggling. I don't know the severity of Baker Mayfield's injury, but it hasn't looked great the last few weeks. So if he's able to get healthy, I give Tampa Bay a shot in that game. But they do need him to play better. And, you got what you had to do here. You did what you had to do here. You got the win. And, feels good to go and win the division in this spot still. So are you going to the game next week? Is that the plan? I
could, actually. I didn't think about that. Maybe. I don't know. Right now, the plan is not to go. But because last year, you kept saying, oh, you got to go. You got to go. I'm like, I'm not going to that game. I know how that's going to go. I know how them going to Dallas is going to work out. Them playing Dallas is going to work out. This game, I feel there's a chance. So I don't know. Maybe I'll consider it.
Yeah. I think you got to go.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. I didn't think about that. But yeah, we'll see. I'll see what the prices are, but maybe I'll consider it.
Yeah.
Kyle, there was an incredible graphic in this game that I want to talk about.
Oh, my God. I saw that. That was so funny.
Yes, the Bryce Young, they showed his overall passing yards and touchdowns being among rookies, second best in football. Of course, only two rookie quarterbacks have played the majority of their team's games this season. And the funniest thing was his touchdowns was 11 and his passing yards was 2,700.
Yeah. I mean, it was really hilarious because and then I was explaining to my brother the context behind it. The only other quarterbacks have been Anthony Richardson, who got hurt after week 5, and Aiden O'Connell, and I think that's it, isn't it?
Will Levis, but yeah, he only played 5 games.
Yeah, and Jaron Hall took a couple snaps, and that was basically it. It's just hilarious that was actually green lighted.
And just to be clear, they did the segment. He's been playing good football these past few weeks, and then showed that, despite the fact that they got shut out last week.
Yeah,
Jonathan Vilma was on one today. He also called Devin White one of the best linebackers in football. He at one point just straight up started cheering for the New Orleans Saints, even though he's calling a team that is directly in contrast of the Jonathan Vilma. I'm actually at the point where he's so bad I'm enjoying his commentary.
Yeah. we don't have some great there are not a lot of great commentary teams, I gotta say that. So there have been some rough ones over the weeks this season. That's something we need to improve on. But yeah, I don't know. It was a pretty poorly played game, and I mean this Panthers team, it's in a bad spot right now, right? They got rid of all their assets to go and get Bryce Young, and I mean, I'm trying to be as optimistic as I can about Bryce Young. I know the situation wasn't great, but I mean, I just don't think he's done himself favors this season either. I don't think, on top of everything else, there are very little flashes of him being a future answer here for Carolina.
Yeah, and the situation is the situation. It's a terrible situation. There's no denying it. But I mean, I don't know. Sam Darnold was able to do okay last year, and it wasn't. I think he had DJ Moore, but it wasn't that different. And I mean, it's 3rd down and 12. They're running the football. It's 3rd and 5. They're running the football. They don't trust him. I mean, it's been a disastrous rookie year. Again, I made the Tua to Justin Herbert comparison of Tua looked terrible his rookie year, but he didn't look this bad. I mean, this is more of a Jared Goff type situation, and that's where you're at right now. If you're a Panthers fan, right? You're like, well, what about Jared Goff? What about Peyton Manning, his interceptions? Like that's where you're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk yourself into it, and maybe he gets better, but it didn't obviously look great this season. We'll see what happens in a year from now. Hopefully they can, figure some things out and improve this offensive roster to help him out. But yeah, I mean, it was a bad shape. And I mean, we kind of called this preseason. This was one of the easiest picks. This offense was going to be awful because you just looked at the roster and said they don't have the pieces. And, I don't know if any quarterback succeeds a whole lot in this situation. But like you said, I mean, like their two best offensive games this season were against Joe Barry's defense in Green Bay, when Andy Dalton played. Those are their two best offensive games of the year.
Well, here's what you got. I mean, you got to go out, sign a Christian Kirk contract. Just get a receiver, overpay for a receiver. Make something happen. That's what you have to do because you're stuck with him for at least another year. You don't have a first overall pick, so that's the move. And hey, crazier things have happened. So, but Buccaneers make the playoffs. I'm excited. I'm having fun. Let's move on. Why don't we? I don't know. We can stick with the NFC South for a bit because this game, we'll spend forever on it. I think kind of the highlight of this. So the Saints pull off a dominant victory. They ultimately do not make the playoffs. The Packers lost, or actually, no, they needed the Packers and Seahawks lost. So did not get the help they needed, New Orleans, but were able to pull out the victory. Headline of this game, though, Arthur Smith. So the way this worked, if you missed the game, apparently Dennis Allen, they asked Dennis Allen, hey, can we get Jamal Williams a touchdown? I believe just to get him a touchdown. I don't believe there was any reason for it. There was no incentive. I don't believe I speculated that, but I don't believe that's the case. So that's what they asked Dennis Allen, can we get him a touchdown? Dennis Allen said, no, we're going to need a ball. Jameis Winston goes to the line and audibles and said, we're going to get him to touchdown anyway. He gets the touchdown with a minute left when it was already 41-17. The Arthur Smith comes up, he yells at Dennis Allen, and Dennis Allen responds with, I understand. And apologized post game. So, always fun to see a good coach fight.
Yeah, I mean, hardly even a fight.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was a more concerted effort to get a player the ball than Atlanta had played all season on offense, right? They, it was a poor showing from Atlanta and another poor display for this offense that Arthur Smith was, basically tasked with constructing. And yeah, I mean, it's a sad way to end this tenure. And, it was a tenure that I had some hope for, and I thought he would have been a good head coach. But yeah, I just thought it was a very childish response to a football game. Obviously, you could say some sportsmanship stuff, but you were outscored 31-0 in the second half. Have some pride in your game. I think I would say more so than the other team didn't play fairly. I mean,
so I think, listen, if I was in Arthur Smith's shoes, I would have been, I don't know, I would have been throwing a hissy fit on the sideline. He knows he's getting fired. He knows his team's not making the playoffs, and it was kind of a dick move by the Saints, right? I mean, I think going for a running play is fine. I think pretending like you're going to be, it's sort of an unwritten rule in football of if it's going to be a kneel down, nobody tries. It was a bit of a dick move. I think Arthur Smith, he threw a hissy fit, but I don't know. I probably would have also thrown a hissy fit.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing because there's the unwritten rules, there's the etiquette part of sports that we talk about, but at the same time, these are professional athletes, and stats mean everything to these guys' careers, to these guys' contracts, and maybe not as much for a guy like Jamal Williams, but there are plenty of players who have added incentives to try and get extra touchdowns, extra yards, all that kind of stuff, and there was an opportunity there for a player to make a play and get a stop. I don't know. It is very weird. I get it. I understand why people will be upset. I just think it's kind of lame.
I mean, I have no issue with the Saints doing it. I also have no issue with Arthur Smith yelling at the Saints, and also Arthur Smith's a bad coach and should be fired. And I think the Saints, did Derek Carr and Dennis Allen save their jobs these past 2 weeks?
Maybe. I was going to say, that's the funny thing is the Saints actually played well to end this season. And Like, is this like this feels like a letdown moment for them, right? Like they had some good games to end the year, and it's like this was the team. We just never got this team fully all year. We saw games like this one, the game against the Patriots, things like that, where you saw the idea of what this team could be. And then we just saw too many games where they laid a bunch of duds, like the Rams game when they were down 30-7 at one point a few weeks ago, and a few other games like that. And, it's frustrating to watch that from an outside perspective. And I can't imagine how frustrating it'd be for Saints fans to see this over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive blown opportunity. It just is. This division was open for a taking, and the fact that they weren't able to get it done, it's just a massive blown opportunity for them. But I think they probably do. I mean, again, it's the Saints. They're not going to rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, the worst part about this is this team was actively trying to win more than anybody else in the division. I think,
Yeah.
like this. I think the Bucs brought their vets back because it was like that. Those guys are Tampa Bay lifers. They let a few guys go, like Sean Murphy, Bunting, that kind of thing. Atlanta did add some pieces. They were going for it, sure, but they also had Desmond Ridder at quarterback, who probably lost his job after today. And yeah, I mean, that was this was the team that was built to try and win this division in the weakest division in football, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah. Let's move on. Let's go to Bears-Packers. This was a game I was excited to see going into this, but I don't know. Bears kind of laid an egg here, I thought, in many ways, only scoring 9 points against a Joe Barry-led defense. Feels like it might be the end of Justin Fields in Chicago at this point. Packers defense played well, though. You got to give them credit. Jordan Love, I mean, that's obviously the headline, as Jordan Love has a great game. He looks like a real player here. And, going into Dallas is not going to be an easy victory, but they make the playoffs. Great season so far for Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Love made the playoffs this year. Aaron Rodgers did it. Did Green Bay win the trade? Yeah. Did they make the right decision? I don't know about all that.
Clearly, no. I still think you got to win a Super Bowl, which I know is insane expectations, but I think T. Higgins, if they drafted him, probably would have won a Super Bowl.
I agree. I was just kidding. But at the same time, like you could go they won their last 3 games. Jordan Love in those 3 games had doing some quick math here, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, you can go all the way back to the Chargers game on November 19th. He basically has I should have done this prep here, but I mean, he has 1 interception in that span and well over 10 to 12 touchdowns there. I mean, like he's played really well to end the year. And like, I know there are Cowboys fans in my life living here in Texas who are really excited to play Green Bay over Los Angeles. And I get some of that, but I don't think this is going to be an easy game either because Jordan Love has played really good football the second half of the season. I get being excited about playing this Green Bay defense, which did play better this week. Give him credit for that. But this Packers team can score, and Jordan Love has definitely bought himself another year and showed that he can be a quality NFL starter.
Yeah. Packers playing the Cowboys. I think that could go. That is a game that is very interesting to me. I don't think it's a guaranteed Cowboys victory, but yeah. I agree with everything you said. For the Bears, I guess this is. I mean, I don't know. This is it for Justin Fields. Fine. He had his good moments, but Justin Fields was not consistent enough. He might be a player, but he's not the guy.
I mean, here's the problem. Like, because people were talking about it last week when he had a really good game last week, right?
Yeah, probably his best game of the season.
He did this last year. He lit it up at the end of the year when the Bears were eliminated, and people talked themselves into Justin Fields as an MVP candidate this year, which I still think was just absolutely insane.
Was that people or was that Dan Orlovsky? Was he the guy?
There was a couple. I don't think it was just him. Was it just him? I don't know.
He was the one I noticed that got the attention, but there might have been people who agreed with him.
I just can't do it with this guy. Like, I understand the physical traits. It is, awe-inspiring when you watch him at his absolute best because he is physically just, dominant. He's probably even like physically more dominant than a guy like Josh Allen, who's probably the most physically dominant quarterback in the NFL right now. So I get it. I get that's exciting, but you just can't win NFL games in 2000. We're in 2024 now. You can't win NFL games in 2024 running the ball 25 times and throwing the ball 16 times. And if you include sacks, that's 21 dropbacks to 25 running plays. Like, you can't win games that way. You have to be able to stretch the field, do it effectively. And I just don't think he has that. I don't think that's in his game. And I don't think his primary goal is to throw the ball a whole lot. And there are just too many games I watch of the Bears where they're trying to throw the ball at the line of scrimmage because they're not looking to create downfield passing plays. Maybe some of that is on the coaching and this decision making in that regard. But he's the one ultimately making these throws. And if they don't trust him to make them, then I just don't see how it can work.
Justin Fields was part of 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. 3 of them already seem like they are not clearly not the guy. Fields seems like the 4th who's not the guy. Talk about another guy who maybe people are questioning at this point, Trevor Lawrence, who, I mean, again, I think he was playing injured. Quite frankly, I don't think he should have been in this game. I think that CJ Beathard should have been in fairness, Lawrence did make some plays. Like, Lawrence was able to help him get back into it, even though he also kind of threw him out of it to begin the game. But the Jaguars, and Kyle, I didn't think this was happening. We did our preview show, which was a very choppy show due to my internet, and you were kind of saying, hey, maybe there's some potential of the Titans. I'm like, get out of here. The Jaguars need this win. Titans are not a good team. This is going to be an easy victory. When I did my teams that had the best odds to make the playoffs, that aren't currently in, I put the Jaguars at the best odds. I said, this is the team. They're in. Don't even worry about them. They're going to make the playoffs. I didn't think there was a chance the Jaguars were going to lose this game, but somehow, some way, they found a way to lose.
Yeah. And it looked bad. It did look bad at times. Obviously, I think the scoreline, they battled back a little bit. They got that late touchdown. But, I mean, this was, they were down 2 scores a lot of this game.
Mm-hmm.
And, they couldn't stop Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry continues to eat up Jacksonville. I mean, Jacksonville native, he loves beating Jacksonville more than anyone, it seems like. So, he had a big game against them. And, Trevor Lawrence made a great throw to Calvin Ridley for that touchdown. But I think he has gotten better, I would say. But for all the things, I actually think you were right on this. People love to give you hate for the Zach Wilson take. Zach Wilson is the number 1 quarterback. But part of your thing that, like, reasoning for Zach Wilson as the number 1 guy was because you said Trevor Lawrence isn't as this generational prospect as everyone says. And you said the errant throws for Trevor Lawrence, the bad decisions, there is a little bit of Jameis in him in that regard. You were saying that basically from his college tape on, and you've continued to maintain that. And that's probably one of your better takes where, it's just so interesting to me how everything is now getting over evaluated when it comes to draft stuff, when it comes to evaluating players. We're talking about CJ Stroud because he doesn't take tests well. Caleb Williams because he cried after a loss are now viewed as like negative assets. But then his decision making, his stuff wasn't looked at as that negative asset. And honestly, I think it's because Clemson won football games. And that's probably the reasoning why, which, I continue to say, evaluating individual players based on wins and losses continues to be, I'll beat that to death if I have to. That's just a dumb way of evaluating football. But yeah, so, those bad decisions are still there. And, that's something he's got to work out of his game because the bad decisions in this game for Trevor Lawrence were absolutely damaging. And I know he was battling through an injury to end this season. And he did have moments this season that he looked really good. But those moments have all been there for Trevor Lawrence throughout the season, throughout the last few years. And this game, they couldn't overcome it. And, even in that Chargers game last year in the playoffs, it was horrible in the first half. He led the team back, and he was awesome in that second half to lead them to win. But they were able to overcome it then, and they couldn't overcome it now.
Yeah, and I kind of think about, we're talking about, he's basically played in 4 playoff games, technically 3, but there was also a win and you're in, lose and you're out game against the Titans. And he's played poorly in all of them. He hasn't had a good game. And I guess this one's not really a playoff game either, but 4 games where if he loses, he's out. And if you win, your season continues. And he's played poorly in all 4 of them. I guess the one you would look at is the Chargers comeback, but I don't know. Turning the ball over 5 times and then being able to come back on a Brandon Staley defense isn't exactly something I'd hang my hat on.
No, it's not. And, the only reason they had to come back is because, it wasn't just him, but they dug themselves in that hole and he was a big part.
It was a lot of him.
Too. Yeah, it was. So, I don't know. it's a weird conversation to have. Like, he's going to get paid a lot of money this offseason. Like, we talked about the Tua thing. Trevor Lawrence is going to get paid a lot of money this offseason.
Yeah.
But I think it's an interesting conversation to have when it comes to Jacksonville. And is that the right decision too? Because, we've been waiting for this next leap, him to join that top tier. I think I say it every offseason when we do our, QB rankings. I have him as the first guy outside of those top two tiers of elite to really, really good quarterbacks. And I keep saying he's going to leap up into this group. He's going to leap up into this group and become an MVP candidate. And we still just haven't seen that next leap, which, I mean, he's still good. He's still really good. But that next leap is the difference between what should be a $50 million quarterback and what shouldn't be, right?
Yeah, I mean, and we have to see where he goes. And maybe, I don't know, if he's hurt, play your backup.
Yeah.
CJ Beathard at 100% is better than Trevor Lawrence at 50%.
Yeah. I mean, CJ Beathard won a game, and he actually played. I mean, I know it was the Panthers, so, but he played well in that game. The Jaguars lost 5 of their last 6 games. They have nobody to blame for themselves for this. I mean, they should have easily made the playoffs. This is a huge letdown moment for this team to kind of stumble this way like this.
Yeah, devastating loss for Jacksonville. We'll have a lot to talk about this offseason. Let's go to Texans-Colts. Kyle, my biggest complaint about this game is it should have been the Sunday night game.
It would have felt. I mean, this one was like one of the. There was 2 games that basically didn't have any incentive with everything else, and it was these 2. I mean, I don't know. That Miami Buffalo game was also pretty good, but that was also like both teams were decided. Both teams were in the playoffs by the time that game kicked off. So I get it. But this was fun, and you know what? I hate to keep bringing up the quarterback thing, but it felt like the difference in this game was one team found its generational quarterback and the other was playing Gardner Minshew, didn't it?
Yeah, and obviously Colts didn't go into the season with the plan of having Gardner Minshew. I mean, this is a great season by the Colts. It was. They went 9-8 with a backup quarterback. They nearly made the playoffs. This is a great season. Obviously, kind of a devastating ending. I mean, to Tyler Goodson. I don't know why Tyler Goodson was in there. I don't know. That's a tough situation to put him in. Just tough situation to put anybody in when you're not you're not in a rhythm at all. Like, to me, some people are blaming Minshew. I thought it was a good enough pass given the circumstances. I think it has to be a catch there, but obviously that was devastating. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, and this is kind of my Panthers take, is like everyone's mocking them for what they traded, but if they ended up with CJ Stroud, everyone's saying what a blunder by the Bears to make to give up that pick. It just they got the wrong guy.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing that becoming about these quarterback drafts, right? Like at this point, like drafting a quarterback, you used to say it was like 50-50. I mean, it might be closer to 40% hit rate at this point when it comes to rookie quarterbacks. And you're looking at some of these guys the past few years, and especially you talked about the draft with the 5 quarterbacks, like maybe one of them starting next year. So it's just crazy to see this happen over and over again. But it's a special season for the Texans. I mean, these 2 teams were 2 of the most improved teams and 2 first-year head coaches. I mean, even with the Colts missing the playoffs here, improving by 5 wins without your number 4 overall pick, I think that's a huge, huge deal. I think they're going to be pretty good going forward. And then the Texans, I mean, how long was this team just a total laughingstock? It had been 2 or 3 years at this point, right? Like this was a total laughingstock of a franchise. They dug themselves in this hole. They really had no way out. And then they had the offseason of a lifetime when it came to, I'll give away this award. Offensive Rookie of the Year, CJ Stroud, who, at times played like a, fringe borderline MVP candidate. A fantastic coach in D'Amico Ryans. And then, they added more guys on both sides of the ball. And all of a sudden, this team in one offseason turned its franchise around like this. And the trajectory of what the Texans are on now compared to what we said the last couple off seasons, it's significant. I mean, this is one of the faster turnarounds in a NFL franchise that I can remember.
And Nico Collins might be one of the most underrated players in football. Guy had nearly 1,300 yards this season. What a year for him. And he missed some time, too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, great stuff. The future is very bright. And, hey, the present is very bright. They're going to be playing Cleveland, and they're hosting a playoff game. With the Jaguars lost, they win the division. So really fun stuff there. Let's move on. let's go to Kyle. Dread from it, run from it. The Steelers making the playoffs still arrives in the end. Pittsburgh finds a way to get in because, of course, they did. Mason Rudolph 3-0 as a starter, and it was rough in this game. There was bad weather, but it was rough throughout this game. I even tweeted out, like, do you consider going with Kenny Pickett? They do not. They stick with Rudolph. Enough is done. The Najee Harris and Jalen Warren thing is actually a pretty good thing. Like, that's working so far. Warren didn't have his best game statistically in this one, but I still thought he had a couple big plays. The Steelers, 10-7. They're playing the Buffalo Bills. And Kyle, if I'm a Bills fan, I'm terrified. That just feels like Bills always lose games they shouldn't lose. Steelers always win games they shouldn't win. That's a bad situation.
Yeah. It does feel like a bad situation, but I've also seen this Pittsburgh team, so I don't think I could ever bet on it. But at the same time,
sure.
I mean, it's just it is a crazy thing to see this team constantly over and over again do this and find a way to, just scrap and claw their way and, figure these things out. And, the funny thing is like, the Mason Rudolph line, if you just looked at like the numbers, is like, 18-20, pretty good day. But he had 152 passing yards and 71 of that was on like his last throw, basically. Like,
yeah.
The big thing with the Steelers offense is like Najee Harris has like found his legs. Like, he's actually been, you mentioned the, kind of splitting the carries. That I think that has helped, but Harris has been really good the last few weeks and, capped off a really good display here. And, I get like the receiver, like they're still waiting for Pickens to make that leap as the number one receiver option. But like both he and Johnson, I still think are really good. And the big thing that's terrifying about this team is like the defense is obviously what it is. It's a good defense and it's a well-coached defense. But either one of these receivers can break a big play at any moment when both play, right? So, if you have those guys, at least it gives you a little bit of something on your offense that like they can get a big play out of nothing, it seems like.
Yeah, it's great. I'm happy they're in the playoffs. I want to see. I know I'm the Steelers fans and me are happy that the Steelers have made the playoffs.
Yeah, probably.
They're just fun. I don't know. They're I like different things sometimes, and they're one of one when it comes to just football team.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I mean, I really just wanted the Texans in. So the fact that we got them and the Colt got them and the Steelers, I think is okay. I still would have probably
and the Bills. I think the Bills. Yeah. If the Bills missed the playoffs for the Steelers, people would have been mad.
Yeah, that's fair. I would have liked to see the Colts too, but at the same time, I'm okay with it this way.
Yeah, it should be interesting seeing what the Steelers do. Probably get crushed, but hey, playoffs is playoffs. The other kind of main game I want to talk about, I think everything else might just be a lightning round situation. The Eagles-Giants. Kyle, the Eagles were trying. We weren't going to talk about this game. This is going to be a game we glossed over, whatever. The Eagles were trying to win this game. They put in their starters. They were attempting to win this football game. They get crushed. A.J. Brown gets injured, although it seems like he's okay, but still that was a concern. They are down 24-0. They end up pulling their starters late in the second quarter. They don't even get to halftime before they pull their starters, where Mariota immediately throws an interception, and the Giants end up blowing out the Eagles. I mean, Eagles are currently only a 1.5 favored over Tampa Bay. We kept saying all year, hey, maybe it's better to be the wild card team. Get to play the NFC South team. At this point, it feels like it's a toss-up between against a team that couldn't score a touchdown against Carolina.
Yeah. It was definitely a really poor end of the season. And I mean, this team looks just fundamentally broken, right? Like, I mean, like Jalen Hurts was not good in this game. The offense was not good in this game. And, I think they started to mail it in a little bit in this game, and there was a little bit of a quit factor. Let's just get to the playoffs sort of thing. But at the same time, like, your guys were out there, and it looked like you couldn't compete in this game. So yeah, I agree with you. This is the panic meter is way up for this team, and I don't really know. I don't really know what they do from here. But I don't know if it can be fixed by next week. I mean, we'll see. Like, I'm going to give this team the benefit of the doubt because they did just make the Super Bowl, and I still think there's a lot of really talented players, but it's really hard to give this team the benefit of the doubt based on what we watched, and it's a continual, consistent effort to look actively bad.
I mean, look at the past 6 weeks for him. So 7 weeks ago, they beat the Bills in overtime, which is probably their signature win of the season. But since then, they got crushed by the 49ers. They got crushed by the Cowboys. They lost to Drew Lock. They barely beat the Giants. Then they lost to Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, and they got crushed by the Giants. Has any team in football had a 6-week stretch that poor this season?
And won the Super Bowl? Probably never.
Well, I'm just saying, no, I'm just saying this season has a team had that bad of a 6-week stretch. Like maybe Denver to start the year?
Yeah, probably. Like, yeah, I mean, probably, yeah, I would agree with that. Because, like, you can even say, like, San Francisco had their blip, but they figured it out after, like, 3 weeks, right? Kansas City has had their blips, but they've managed to win games during those stretches, too. Like, this is just a actively, it's a tough situation for them. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a disaster, but I guess what you'd say if you're an Eagles fan is no AJ Brown, no Devonta Smith, get those guys healthy, but they're in a tough spot right now.
Yeah, it's a really tough spot. I mean, we'll obviously have to talk about it Wednesday, but this team is definitely on upset alert. I don't even know what the line is. I imagine it's pretty close.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. They're still favored, but by 1.5 points.
Yeah. I don't know about it, man. Like this may be just like you chalk it up and say, regroup and figure out till next season. But I mean, at the same time, like there's a lot of older guys on this team too. Like how long can you keep asking guys like Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, Darius Slay to still be productive players going forward?
Joe in the chat says, Jackson, I love your show, but your Giants recaps are always from the perspective of the team the Giants play. Joe, fair enough. Tyrod Taylor, hey, good quarterback.
Good backup quarterback.
Oh, you threw in you didn't have, he's okay. He's maybe fringe starter.
Yeah, I mean, him, Gardner Minshew, like that's the same tier guy. Like
it was actually hilarious where like he was throwing the ball downfield and having a lot of success. Like, what if Tyrod Taylor just now figured out that he can actually is actually a good deep ball thrower? He just never did it. The
funny thing is like Tyrod, they actively seeked out Tyrod Taylor this offseason as their backup quarterback. Mm-hmm. And then like people were all excited because Tommy DeVito has like Italian in him.
Yeah.
He's a way better player.
Oh, we have a $55 super chat from Philip Yang. Thank you. Philip. Love your videos and analysis, helping me win with my gambling picks. Cheers to the new year and making more profits. Well, good work, Philip. I'm glad. It seems like your gambling probably goes better than mine does.
Yeah. Don't keep betting on us. That's for sure. Fade us sometimes. Don't be afraid.
Yes. Yeah. Let's do a lightning round. We'll each give one thought on each of the rest of the games. How does that sound?
Okay, go for it.
Okay, Vikings-Lions. The Sam Laporta thing, him getting injured sucks, but I also understand why they did it.
Yeah, I don't mind them playing their guys, going for it, and there's still a chance at the 2 seed. Good win for the Lions. The offense looked really good. I thought this could be a little bit of a trap game with this Vikings defense being, as physical as it is. So fun game. This was actually a really watchable game.
Yeah. Seahawks Cardinals, Seattle, you ended up getting the win that we didn't think you would do for a while. My biggest takeaway though is Kyler he's earned the right to not even really question it. He's going to be the starter next year.
Yeah, I don't think there's any debate about that anymore. It'll be interesting to see who they build around it. Obviously, they could use another receiver. We'll see how that looks this offseason, and I know the Seahawks ended up winning this game, but very disappointing finish to the year. And, 9-8 feels like a letdown for them.
Yeah. Rams 49ers. Carson Wentz looked all right. Probably Jets should have gotten him instead of Simeon there. Also, Rams now going to play the Lions. That final score is going to be 52-51.
Yeah, it sure would seem that way. I'm excited for that game. The Stafford revenge game, the Jared Goff revenge game sets up that beauty. Carson Wentz, I agree with you. He's not perfect, obviously, but he's definitely better than some of these quarterbacks we've seen trotted out there this season.
Yeah, is that the new move? If you're a quarterback who can't get a job, just go with the Rams. Baker did it, because. What? Sean McVay, he just loves everybody, right? Sean McVay, there's not a single person on the planet Sean McVay doesn't like.
Wasn't Blake Bortles on this team for like 5 years?
I don't think it was 5 years. I think it was maybe like 8 years.
He was.
But he was
It
on
felt
that
like it felt like he was there for a bit. But yeah, I mean, fun Carson Wentz game. A little bit of a throwback there, and you know, I did not have a lot of eyes in this game. This
Okay,
game
fair enough.
zero to me.
I think what we all did was after the Packers game ended, we realized, oh wait, this game could decide seeding. Let's go watch that one. I think that's what we all did.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's basically exactly how it happened.
Yeah. Cowboys balls. I don't know. Cowboys look good. Cowboys did what the Eagles should have done.
Yeah, they did what they had to do. Dak capped off a terrific season. CeeDee Lamb capped off a terrific season, and they look dangerous. And you know, I hope I don't have to watch Sam Howell at all next season.
I think you'll be all right there. Moving on, 3 games left. Chiefs Chargers. You know, I don't know. I have a special place in my heart for Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah, the Blaine train's fun.
Uh-huh.
Right in the Gabbert zone, just how we like it. The Chargers did play a lot of their guys and lost to the Chiefs backups, but somehow this is Justin Herbert's fault. I just want to say that. So
Yeah, so let's just. But Blaine Gabbert running, getting that run. That's just I don't know. Fire Brandon Staley again.
rehiring them and fire them. Like
I
this
think
is
so.
unbelievable. Like I still can't believe we got gaslit into believing that Justin Herbert was the problem. Like this is exactly as we expected as soon as he got hurt.
Yeah, sometimes it's the best. I don't know. Sometimes it's like when you have to go on vacation for a week at your job and people realize like how much you do. Maybe that's it with Herbert here.
Yeah, I mean they lost. What is it here? 8 of their last 9 games, and their one win was 6-0 at the Patriots.
Yeah, it's tough for the Chargers. Broncos Raiders sticking with the division. You know, is Antonio Pierce the guy? I think he might end up keeping the job at this point.
He seems well liked, and you know what? Sometimes being well liked is enough to give you a job. So maybe that's the case for this team.
Yeah,
I don't know if it'll work, but you know, we'll see.
it'll come down to the coordinators, right?
Yeah, he's got to hire a good X's and O staff around him, right? Because he just, I don't know, maybe he is that guy, but you know, he kind of seems like the galvanize the troops kind of motivational guy. So I mean, they really got to hire well. I guess the question is like, you know, you obviously, I don't know, do you go Aiden O'Connell next year? I don't think you do. But like, how do you fix that situation?
If you
know,
do, you do, but
win 8 games, but you know, it's not going to be easy to find a quarterback in that spot.
Yeah. No, I don't think you do. Finally, Browns Bengals. I'm stretching here, Kyle. We got to see AJ McCarron sighting.
AJ McCarron sighting, indeed. You know, Jake Browning's girlfriend, you know, stole the show, I think, in this game. Like, she showed up on the screen. She looked like the Silver Surfer. I don't know what she was wearing, but you know,
I missed it.
It was the Silver Surfer with like an orange like bucket hat. So, you know, respect for the outfit choice. I think that's it. That's a bold move, and I thought she pulled it off. So good for her.
Okay, well, everyone can Google that after.
Silver Surfer is also an elite comic book character, so I respect it.
That's true. Yeah, underrated, I think. Kyle, as we teased at the beginning of the show, let's do our. Do you want to do the awards first, or do you want to do the All Pro first? Should we do the All Pro first, or I guess that would kind of spoil some of the awards. So maybe we should do awards.
Yeah, let's do awards first because I think that makes more sense because obviously it'll reveal our MVP. So, how do you want to do rookie awards first? Then, how do you want to do this? Do you want me to
Sure, let's just do. Oh, here. Let's do. We'll do rookie first. Let's do rookie. You already revealed C.J. Stroud, your offensive rookie of the year. Kyle, we disagree. Give me Puka Nacua.
Listen,
I don't agree that the offensive rookie of the year should just go to the quarterback.
I understand it, and I wouldn't hate the pick. I just think Stroud's been that good that it's not going to become a debate. So I think he's going to win the award. I think he deserves the award, and I think it's a worthy inclusion for him to win the award. But yeah, I mean, I think Nakua's been awesome. I mean, this is really an awesome offensive rookie of the year class because like Sam Laporta's been awesome.
Yeah.
You know, you could go like I think Jahmyr Gibbs had a good season too. Bijan Robinson had showcased his talent at times. But yeah, I mean, it came down to the 2 guys I thought, but I still did go Stroud. I understand the reasoning for picking Nacua, but you know, in a quarterback league, he's not going to win it.
Yeah, you're probably right. For defensive rookie of the year, Kyle, I have a hot take here. I'm sticking with the Rams. Give me Kobe Turner.
Okay. Yeah, we do disagree on this one, but
Mhm.
we both went against the conventional wisdom here because I think Jalen Carter is the favorite right now.
Mhm.
I went Devin Witherspoon. Um,
Sure.
like I
Mhm.
think he's been really good too, and he's played like 400 more snaps than Jalen Carter. So give me Witherspoon, and I understand the reasoning for Kobe Turner too.
Yeah, Turner's one of those guys where someone brought him up a couple weeks ago, and I was kind of like, okay, what? One of those sack guys who happen to get some lucky sacks. And I look at his advanced numbers, and I'm like, wait, this is actually really good. So I started watching some tape, and no, he's been. And I kind of assumed, okay, maybe his advanced numbers are good because of the attention Aaron Donald's getting. That's not really the case either. Like Aaron Donald, they, he's part. The game plan is to try to get Aaron Donald one-on-one as much as possible. So Turner's actually had, I believe the status, he's had more double teams than Donald has had this season, just due to the Rams trying to scheme it up that way. And Turner's still done a lot of good stuff. So yeah, and Witherspoon's been incredible as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's completely justifiable, and I think Jalen Carter at the beginning of the year really kind of had a stranglehold on this, but I don't think he's played that well the second half of the season, and the lower snap count of the position too, I think played a factor in my spot. So I ended up going Witherspoon just because I do think he's been awesome, and not to mention I know he missed some games, but I did feel like it was a significant difference when Witherspoon was out there compared to when others were out when he wasn't out there. And there's not many rookies who can say that.
Yeah, I'm with you. All three that we mentioned, had defensive rookie of the year seasons. Coach of the year, Kyle, who did you pick?
I went D'Amico Ryans. This was the one that I went down to the very last week of the year. I kind of had Stefanski penciled in. I just think that I'm subjecting myself to what the writers suck themselves into. This is defying the expectations the most. But I think
Mhm.
the expectations for this team were so extreme that I had to go with D'Amico Ryans here because this franchise was in such a bad spot for 3 years. And to make the playoffs, win the division in your first year, I think that's a significant jump and a big enough jump to make this a lock for me.
I would have Kyle Shanahan. I think he's been the best coach. I get it. I get the expectations. I don't know. Shanahan's the one guy who you don't even give credit to anyone on the offense because you're like, it's just Shanahan's game.
Yeah. Stefanski was my next guy up, but Shanahan was on my short list too. I also had Mike McCarthy on my short list, which,
Of course you
maybe,
did. You've had it about every year.
no, I have not. But this year, I thought he actually deserved to be on the short list.
Okay, fair enough. I like McCarthy. McCarthy's we were too hard on him earlier in his tenure. Offensive player of the year, I think we probably are both in lockstep here. Christian McCaffrey, right?
Yeah, McCaffrey's my guy too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, is there? I couldn't really think of a good contender. I mean, I guess Tyreek Hill. I don't know.
Tyreek is definitely the next guy. Like if I were to do like a full ballot, it would be McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, then CeeDee Lamb.
Mhm.
But I think Tyreek cooled off a little bit. Plus, he was dealing with some nagging injuries at the end of the year. That's why I had him second.
Yeah. Defensive player of the year. I think we're going to disagree. Who did you pick?
I had Myles Garrett. I
Mhm.
think he's been the best defensive player this year. I think he's the most impactful to his team and his team's success. So I think Garrett could honestly be debated as one of the most impactful, just straight up football players this season. And so, yeah, I had him as defensive player of the year.
I get it. If I went edge, definitely I might have gone there. But you know me, I don't just give it to the edge rusher just because they have them. Just because they're an edge rusher. I want Jesse Bates the third. I think he's been incredible this year for Atlanta, and I think that Atlanta does not come anywhere close to the amount of wins they had without him. The free agent signing of these, maybe a key free agent signing, not the free agent signing, because again, it is a safety. I get it, but what he did was incredible this season. I would give him the nod.
Yeah, that's a really good pick. I had a really tough time picking safeties on All Pro, and
Mhm.
we'll have to debate that because I think it's going to be really close.
Yeah, there's three safeties, and the way we do all pro is a little bit interesting, so we'll talk about that when we get there. But finally, Kyle, the key award, the MVP, where did you go?
Yeah, I ended up doing a full ballot, so I have a top five. So I'll just
Okay.
rattle off the top 5 quick. Number 5, Matthew Stafford. I think he's been significant to the Rams' success this season. I think he's been really good. 4, Christian McCaffrey. We just talked about him, Offensive Player of the Year. I think he's been the most important player to the 49ers. 3, Dak Prescott. Absolute career year. I think he was dynamite. This offense was a buzzsaw. He was a big reason for it. Josh Allen, number 2. I think he was the singularly most impactful player to his team's success. He took on a huge burden for this team. It looked like a high usage basketball player at times. And then number 1, I did end up going with Lamar Jackson. I had Josh Allen as my MVP for a few weeks heading into this season, but I think Lamar Jackson outplayed Josh Allen the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season and definitely deserves the award, which I didn't decide until 5 minutes before the show.
I was actually with you. I think I wrote down so I agree Dak is 2, and I agreed number 1 and 2, or excuse me, I agreed Dak is 3, and I agreed that 1 and 2 are Allen and Lamar. I think at one point I had Lamar written down, but the more I thought about it, no, I'm still going Josh Allen. I think that I agree Lamar was better these past few weeks than Allen, but I think over the course of a season, again, people are going to bring up the turnovers with Allen. Turnover-worthy plays are not that different, and I've watched both of these guys play. I love Lamar. I'm a big Lamar fan. Lamar also will put the ball in harm's way at times. Both mostly do a pretty good job at protecting the football, actually, despite popular opinion there. What it came down to me was I just think it was situation. And I think that, to me, Josh Allen was in a worse situation, and the offense performed better. That's just, at the end of the day, Lamar was on a better team. I think that's why he's going to get the award. But I think if Josh Allen had the defense of the Ravens and had the offense of the Ravens, I think Josh Allen's the MVP instead.
Yeah. I think this is closer than what it's going to be voted as, by the way, because I think Lamar's got it. The conventional thing is Lamar's got this locked up by a mile, and he's probably going to,
it might be unanimous.
Borderline. Yeah, it might be borderline unanimous. I agree, but I think this should be a lot closer. This reminds me of the Brady Rodgers season where I think Rodgers was kind of he's MVP this year kind of nomination when I think Brady kind of deserved it. Yeah, I think you could definitely go with that with this season. So I have no problem picking Josh Allen. Like I said, it came down to I thought Josh Allen really needed an awesome week 18 to take it back from Lamar, and he was really good in the end of the game. But I still go Lamar.
Yeah, and I would say Lamar had an MVP caliber season. There's no asterisks on Lamar, even though I'm campaigning for Josh Allen. I have no issue with Lamar. When Lamar wins it, I'll be happy for Lamar. I'm a big Lamar fan. I think, not mad at all that he's going to win his second MVP.
Yeah. This has always been a pro Lamar podcast.
Well, let's get into the All-Pro. Kyle, they say this is the most prestigious honor in sports, getting the on the sidelines All-Pro.
I don't know who said that before because this is our first time doing this, but
it's been a common saying for years.
Yeah, common setting for years indeed. This was a lot to go through. This took me a few minutes, I would say, more than a few minutes, honestly. And there are a lot of guys that I'm really disappointed had to be left off my list. Very disappointed I had to leave some guys off my list.
Yeah, it's tough. Every time everyone says, "Oh, this guy should be an All-Pro, that guy should be an All-Pro," but when you have to actually pick 22 guys, that's where it gets difficult. First off, quarterback and halfback, I think we both, it's already kind of decided, right? McCaffrey's going to be our halfback, and then I have Allen. You have Lamar?
Yeah. I mean, those guys were on our MVP ballots, so I think it absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, so for the pass catchers, what I did was 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. I was a little bit confused on how exactly the All-Pro voting works, but that's how I did it. So I'll give my 4 picks there, then I'll let you give your picks. I went with Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb for the wide receivers. George Kittle was my tight end, and Amon-Ra St. Brown I gave the flex spot to.
We are almost in agreement there. I agreed with everything. I had George Kittle as my tight end. I had CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill. Those 3 were basically locks for me. The last spot, I had a lot of different debates there. I had Nico Collins on my list, actually. I had Amon-Ra St. Brown on my list. I ended up going with A.J. Brown. I still think he had a good enough year to deserve it too. So I went with Brown. He started off incredible. He was in that conversation, and he was still good enough, I think, to deserve that 3rd spot.
Yeah, I think I agree with most of it. I mean, those were the other 2 guys I've considered in that situation. For offensive line, so I did do left tackle, right tackle, like that kind of stuff. I didn't just do 2 guards, 2 tackles, and a center. I went with For the tackles, Penei Sewell, and then I went with Trent Williams. I thought that even though he missed a little bit of time, I think he was good enough. I'm still going to give him the nod there. For left guard, it was tough because a lot of the best guards are right guards for whatever reason. Chris Lindstrom was my pick for right guard. I went with Joe Thuney for the left guard. And then center, I think Frank Ragnow deserved it. So 2 Detroit players make my list. And another guard would have made it if it wasn't for Lindstrom. If it had 2 guards, they would have probably had 3. So, a lot of good offensive linemen in Detroit.
Yeah, we have 4 of our 5 the same.
Gotcha.
I have Penei Sewell. I have Trent Williams. I have Frank Ragnow. I have Chris Lindstrom. I did pick Zach Martin as the 5th guy.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Can I just say, Chris Lindstrom, one of my all-time takes that no one cares about. I was like, no one's paying attention to Chris Lindstrom. His PFF grades weren't even great to start his career. I'm like, no, this guy's going to be an absolute stud. But obviously, having a good right guard take isn't really going to generate the headlines.
Yeah, I wasn't even looking to do right guard, left guard. It just kind of happened that way. So
Gotcha.
I guess good job by me. I definitely cheated with my linebackers. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah,
Okay.
I think it's a. I did. Yeah, I thought the biggest debates for me were definitely that guard spot. But yeah, I thought that Zach Martin deserved it, and he just put together a Hall of Fame career, and just adding to it, and I thought Sewell, Williams, and Ragnow were my basically locks. I don't think there's any debate on those 3 for me.
Yeah. Let's go to the defense then. So the way I did this, which again is not, I think officially there's 3 linebackers, which I didn't think was fully fair because usually teams don't play 3 linebackers anymore. So I decided I did 2 edge, 2 interior defensive linemen, 2 off-ball linebackers, and then I did a flex position.
Okay, that works for me because that's basically what I did.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so my flex was just either a safety, a corner, or a linebacker was how I viewed it. Let's start off with edge. I went with the 2 main guys, TJ Watt and Myles Garrett.
Yeah, there was no debate for me there. That was pretty easy.
Yeah, I did consider, some might call him the best defensive player in football. Micah Parsons considered him for a second, and also Nick Bosa were kind of honorable mentions. But those 2 guys, it's hard to compete with them too.
Yeah, Parsons was my toughest guy to leave off the list. I just couldn't find a spot for him. I was trying really hard to find a spot for him, but I just couldn't do it. So I ended up going, I thought about putting him at my 3rd linebacker spot, but I felt like that was being too facetious compared to my other pick, who is still not a linebacker. But I at least could justify that defense making sense. Where I can't justify, Micah Parsons being on the field in that position.
Yeah, for interior defensive lineman, one of Kobe Turner again. No, I'm kidding. Okay, didn't go that far. Although I did go with his teammate Aaron Donald. Also, I don't know if we're going to agree here. I gave Derek Brown the nod. I think again, kind of some doesn't necessarily have the best talent around him. Put up incredible numbers. This is not the stat I gave him the nod for. I didn't even think about this, but just bring it up. He broke the record for most tackles as an interior defensive lineman. Kyle, he had 100 tackles this season. How does that happen? How does an interior defensive lineman get 100 tackles? I don't get that. He was out there for basically every snap, put up incredible efficiency numbers regardless. So those are my 2 guys.
Playing basically every snap as an interior defensive lineman is really impressive on its own. So I completely understand that. And that's why I also had him on my list. I had him. Yeah. I had him on my list. I thought he was fantastic, and I had Dexter Lawrence on my list, who I thought was the best defensive tackle this year. Chris Jones, Aaron Donald. Those are 2 legends of the game and 2 of the best defensive linemen. I felt really bad for leaving those guys off the list too, but I thought Brown and Lawrence were really impactful.
Yeah, Lawrence was a little bit, him and Quinton Williams I considered as well. Lawrence, the snap count was a little bit low. I decided to go with Donald. I think Donald put like 200 more snaps, so that was my decision making there on a per snap basis. I agree with Lawrence. Going over to linebackers, I only have 1 Pro Bowler on my list, Fred Warner, who has gotten some Defensive Player of the Year buzz. Also, Demario Davis for the Saints. Never gets enough credit. I'm giving him my All-Pro nod here.
Yeah. This is starting to become a boring segment because we're agreeing on everything. I had these 2 as well. The 3rd linebacker spot is where I cheated, but yeah, I thought those are the best 2 linebackers this season. I thought, Bobby Wagner's a good player. Roquan's, and he's going to deserve, his Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff. But I just thought Davis was better this season.
Yeah, I agree. And it's I mean, it's tough, right? Like the Pro Bowl voting, the way it's done is stupid. Where there's basically 6 edge rushers and only 2 off-ball linebackers every year because they also do 3 outside linebackers, but those are always going to be edge rushers.
Yeah. Yeah, right. That's what like I fully expect like TJ Watt, Miles Garrett, and Micah Parsons to make the team because they're going to use the outside linebacker position as that edge, and it's BS. And that's why like I want my defense to make sense, and I think my defense makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. My flex is a safety, so we'll get into that in a second. Who was your third linebacker?
Well, that's my safety too. I had a flex
Oh,
safety too. I was
okay.
flexing a
We'll,
guy
we'll wait
down.
on that then. Well, let's do.
Okay.
Well, let's do safeties then. So we each have 3 safeties. I'm assuming we're gonna pick the same 3. I went with Kyle Hamilton, Antoine Winfield, and Jesse Bates.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really wanted to get Kyle Hamilton on the team. I was like, I need to have a Raven on this defense too because of what they did. So yeah, Kyle Hamilton I thought was the best player on the Ravens defense. I think he deserves it. And then Jesse Bates and Antoine Winfield. I mean, those 2 were incredible this year. I mean, they Antoine Winfield was just a big play magnet and also had 100 tackles. Like he just did everything for this defense. I thought he was really impactful. And then yeah, I mean, like you said with Jesse Bates, I mean, he could end up on Defensive Player of the Year ballots with the year he had and turning around that Falcons defense, which was just so putrid last year. Like the difference between last year and this year with the Falcons and Jesse Bates is phenomenal.
Yeah. I did for a second consider Winfield on my defensive player of the year ballot as well, Kyle.
I wouldn't blame you for it. I mean, he was incredible this year. So, this was a really good year for the safety positions because there's even guys I left off that I feel bad about, but those are my 3.
Yeah, and just Hamilton was the guy I put in my flex position just because he did miss a couple games. Which I mean, it's crazy. Great year for safeties.
Yeah, it really was. And like I said, I want my defense to make a little sense when I make an all-pro defensive team. And I could see these guys. I could see Kyle Hamilton playing with these guys on the same field, right? Like it makes sense to me.
Okay, well, I didn't think about that at all. But yeah, interesting stuff. Corners, I went with Jalen Johnson and Deron Bland.
This is really boring. We have the same team.
Yeah, makes sense though. These were the right guy. These were the right picks.
Yeah, like. And it's one of those things too. Like I was trying to find a reason not to pick Deron Bland, honestly, and that feels like wrong to say, but like I just don't think down to down he's like a top 2 corner. But the value of like defensive touchdowns I thought was so significant that I had to put him on it. So he is deserving of it, and he's going to get it. So it makes sense. I was just like, I don't think down to down this guy's the most impactful corner. So I'll give it to Bland, and then Johnson just had a terrific season, and my biggest omission here is Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, I probably would have got if I did 3. I probably would have got it from him as well. I don't know. I think Bland. Who would have thought Trayvon Diggs would get injured and they would replace him with a better corner?
With an all-pro corner, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was a good year for him. It was incredible.
Yeah. So all right, well that was this is your idea. This was a good fun segment.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be some debates. I'm going to be interested to see what that team looks like because, I mean, as we mentioned with some of these Pro Bowlers, some of our guys on our teams left off of Pro Bowlers, but the Pro Bowl teams were just awful this year. Just awful. So
I just thought they were better than usual, but they're it's just always terrible.
But yeah, I mean, there is just some glaring omissions, I thought. So wanted to write that.
Yeah, no, this was fun. It was definitely an interesting exercise, and apparently, we just agree on everything.
Yeah, I mean, besides we had Lamar and Josh Allen as a debate, we had Zach Martin and who was your guard?
I had Joe Thuney.
Thuney. And
then I had Amon-Ra, and you had AJ Brown.
Right.
And then
the defensive tackles was the only thing we disagreed upon. We had we had Derek Brown, and then it was Dexter Lawrence versus Aaron Donald.
Yeah,
and I think Chris Jones also would be in the conversation.
Yeah, and every single pick there was not a single one where I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that person. Like everything like you did, I was like, oh yeah, that was like number 3 on my list.
Yeah, so good job by us. We have great connection there.
Yeah, and again, somehow, despite the fact that you and I think 2 moderately intelligent people who look at data in a similar way will come to this. The actual All Pro will just be completely, I don't know. There'll be some off the wall takes.
Antoine Winfield's probably not sniffing an All Pro team, which is just a shame.
I think he might get it just because of the controversy of him not getting the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
It's like Kyle in the Oscars one year. Ben Affleck didn't get nominated when he directed Argo, and Argo ended up winning Best Picture in large part because of the controversy of him not getting nominated when he directed it. I could see a similar situation happening here with Winfield.
I could see it, but I also think people could just say Jesse Bates and Kyle Hamilton. And then they'll put Micah Parsons as an outside linebacker because that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Crazy stuff there. Kyle, we have the playoffs format here. The regular season's over. Well, what a run by us.
Regular season's over, indeed. I come out on top in the regular season picks prediction,
Yeah.
so got to close it here in the playoffs. I'm in the driver's seat. Feel good about that. And how do you feel about Peacock? How do you feel about the Peacock game? Are you up in arms about it?
Yeah, I'm up on it's an abomination. I mean, what are we like? My parents now have to figure out how to get Peacock, and I have Peacock. Okay, I mean, what are we doing here? The whole. I am one of the few people who paid for the YouTube TV. Getting all the games. Now I don't get a playoff game. I paid that much money, and I don't even get to see one of these games. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's not that big a deal to me, I guess, because I have it for Premier League games, So I guess I'm just whatever. But at the same time, I understand why that's upsetting to people. Thankfully, my parents are tech savvy, so I don't have to explain it to them.
Okay. Yeah, and my grandparents are they're missing that game. It's just not happening.
Yeah. They're gonna have to go to somebody's house to watch it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I want to. I'm fine. I wasn't great. I didn't care about if you want to have a regular season game, Peacock only, whatever. But I think for the play, like if you're an older person who now has to figure out Peacock to see your team play in the playoffs, it is annoying. I don't like it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very frustrating. I don't know. It's going to become everywhere, right? Like I fully expect one of these streaming services to get NBA TV contracts. And I mean, it's just going to go everywhere. Every one of these things are going to be on streaming services at some point.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know. Even right now, right? The Amazon games every Thursday night. So it's already been happening.
We just need a box that you can buy that has all of the streaming packages included. And you could just flip between them with one channel button and call it something like cable.
Yeah, that's good. We could call it Home Box Office or HBO for short.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't have to close one app to open another app. I can just hit channel up and go to the next one. That would be brilliant.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not an anti-stream. Like I think there is value in streaming, and I do think that I still prefer this to cable. At least you can watch stuff when you want instead of having to watch it at a certain time.
There's definitely value to it. And I think it's done wonders for the television, like just TV industry as a whole, because I mean, like these TV shows are now like bigger than movies, right? Like
that's part of the issue as well, right?
Yeah. Because that seemed unheard of like 10, 15 years ago, right? But at the same time, I don't know. It's getting to the point now where, cord cutting though was supposed to be the cheaper option. And I mean, it's not going to be cheaper anymore. It's just, I don't know. Everyone's having this debate. It's not just me, so it's just weird.
Yeah, and obviously the whole HBO or not HBO Max, just Max. Them making movies and then not even putting them out because like it's not worth like the bandwidth or whatever. I don't know. There's some frustrating stuff going on.
Well, the crazy thing is all these companies open streaming services and they all lost money so fast that they had to bump up the prices for their streaming services. So now all of this is just more expensive. I don't know. It's silly.
Well, because it's one of those things where it's like every time there's this new thing, every company's like, we have to get in on this. We have to be the first one there. But then like they don't think about how we make money off of it. They're just like we have to have a streaming service, and they don't, and now they get to the point where they're not paying anyone, and that's the whole writer strike and everything. It's the whole thing, Kyle.
Yeah. Maybe they should hire us to solve this.
I think so. I feel like most of our shows end with us just saying people should hire us for things.
I mean, honestly, if someone wanted to hire us for anything, I'd take it at this point. Let us fix one problem in the world. Maybe besides like war. I don't know how to fix that, but
Yeah, there's some tough stuff. The Middle East stuff gets pretty complicated. I get a little confused sometimes.
yeah. I don't know. What is probably the easiest thing we could solve?
I think streaming services.
That's the easiest. I don't know.
What? Maybe fourth down decision making in football.
That would be one. I would just say NFL scheduling. Like why do we need to juice ratings for 4 o'clock NFL games? Like, can we just have like instead of 10 games at noon and 4 games at 3, just do half and half? That'd be my easiest.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. I don't know. I've always had an idea that I thought it would make sense for bagel companies and bars to team up. Because think about it, a bar only really is people only go at night, and bagels companies only people only go during the daytime or in the morning.
I said I was
Work
going to
together.
open a bar called the Breakfast Bar, and it opens at 3 a.m. when all the bars close.
Kyle, we
And
have
you
the
could just-
same. We're
Yeah.
our brains are the same clearly. Because
I know.
I had bagels and beer has been an idea I've had in my head for forever.
Yeah, the breakfast bar, and then you go and get like a Bloody Mary to help tone down at night. You can get some breakfast food. You need something greasy after you get really drunk. So.
Yeah. This is perfect. It's the perfect. It can be open 24 hours this way.
What's your best drunk food?
Best junk food. I am a big fan of like Taco Bell or McDonald's.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know. I will say this one time I had multiple cups of absinthe, which is just like burns your stomach basically.
Yeah.
And that may have been the best chicken McNuggets I've ever had in my life after that, because I was so hungry. Like just 2 cups of it, I was starving. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good choice. I do love French fries. So
Yeah, French fries, tacos. I think that's the move. Yeah, I remember one time I was very drunk and had tacos. I forget what the place was called, and I'm like, this is like the greatest food that has ever been made.
yeah. I agree. But yeah, I mean, we could solve a lot of things. No problem.
We could solve a lot. Yes, everyone who is watching, make sure next week, or not next week, this Wednesday, 5 o'clock Eastern time, we will be previewing the Super Wildcard Weekend. Not just Wildcard Weekend, Kyle. It's Super Wildcard Weekend.
Yeah, and you know what's even more disappointing? Like, is there a game on Nickelodeon this year?
Is there? I'm not sure because I assumed there would be, but I didn't see anyone bring it up.
I didn't see it either, but we did see Peacock. Plenty of people talked about that. Yeah,
If there's
I don't know.
no Nickelodeon game and there's a Peacock game, I might just not watch football.
I mean, even just give us the Disney Plus thing again, where like we can have Toy Story animated.
Yeah, I like that. I'd watch that.
Toy Story animated. What's the ESPN game? Tampa Bay, Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think so.
Toy Story animated Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, that was my favorite video I made this year was using the Toy Story footage to talk about Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Kyle, who do you got? Michigan or Washington? They're calling it the Public Restroom Bowl. M versus W.
Oh yeah, it is it is a classic Big Ten rivalry game. There, just 2 Big Ten legends. I will go. I'm picking Washington.
Oh,
I think they got 3 NFL receivers. I think that's really tough to cover in college football, and I think they're going to put up points. I think one of my bold takes is Roma Dunze, not as far off from Marvin Harrison Jr. as people think. So people are going to watch him this week, tomorrow night, and be really impressed. And I think he's due for a big day.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think the real wide receiver take is just whoever I think is going to be good, just not that guy.
Yeah. So don't pick Roma Dunze or Marvin Harrison Jr.
Okay, yeah. There's going to be someone from some random school that I'm going to fall in love with.
I mean, there are a lot of good receivers in this draft. Like Malik Neighbors, I don't think is bad either. But Odunze is the guy. I think he could light up Michigan. And Michigan's not bad defensively. I just think what Washington does, and like I said, I mean, it's legitimately 3 NFL players at receiver. Like those guys are all going to be playing on Sundays. And it's just nobody's been able to stop it for 4 quarters.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kyle, that is our show. Let them know we can find us on Twitter before we head out. I'll give you a second. I'm going to kill time because you were drinking as I said that. Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin. And make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Yes, of course, if you like audio-only podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, just search On the Sideline Podcast. It should be available there. Yeah, that is our show. Kyle, any final thoughts?
No. Looking forward to, like you said, national championship tomorrow, playoffs next week. A lot to talk about, and looking forward to Wednesday's show. And we'll see all the coaching firings as they happen going into tomorrow, which Arthur Smith couldn't make it to.
Kind of mean by the Falcons, a little bit mean.
He wasn't even like he was bad, obviously, but he wasn't even the worst head coach this year. And to fire him the night before the day everyone gets fired, anyways, like that's brutal.
Yeah, that's not, you can't. Yeah, that's can't tough situation for Arthur Smith. Again, thank you to everybody. Hope your Monday goes better than Arthur Smith's does. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.
Peace.